I'm a security guard. My name is Mark Sullivan. I work the night shift at the Empire State Building in New York City. It's a job I took to make ends meet, but it's a job that has haunted me ever since I started. You see, the Empire State Building is haunted, and I don't mean haunted by the usual creaks and groans of an old building. I mean haunted by the spirit of a headless man. It all started one night in January. The city was blanketed in snow, the streets deserted. I was making my rounds, checking the floors and making sure everything was secure. The building was eerily quiet, the only sound the soft hum of the heating system. I was on the 86th floor, one of the observation decks that attracts thousands of tourists during the day. At night, it was a different story. The expansive views of the city were replaced by an oppressive darkness that seemed to seep into every corner. As I walked past the windows, my flashlight beam cutting through the gloom, I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather outside. It was the kind of cold that sinks into your bones, making you shiver from the inside out. I heard a noise behind me, a faint shuffling sound. I turned around, but there was nothing there. I shrugged it off, thinking it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. But then I heard it again, louder this time. It was coming from the direction of the stairwell. As I approached the stairwell door, the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. I reached for the door handle, my hand trembling. I opened the door slowly, my flashlight beam revealing nothing but an empty staircase. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. That's when I saw him. At the bottom of the stairs, in the dim light, stood a figure. He was dressed in old-fashioned work clothes, the kind you'd expect to see on a construction worker from the early 20th century. But there was something horribly wrong. He had no head. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The headless figure began to move, slowly making his way up the stairs towards me. I wanted to run, to scream, but I was rooted to the spot, paralyzed by fear. He stopped a few steps below me, his body swaying slightly. I could feel his presence, a malevolent force that seemed to suck the warmth out of the air. And then, in a raspy whisper, he spoke. "Help me," he said. "I need to find my head." I stumbled back, nearly dropping my flashlight. The figure faded away, leaving me alone in the stairwell, my mind racing. I knew I had to find out more about this ghostly presence. Who was he, and how had he lost his head? The next day, I went to the library and started researching the history of the Empire State Building. I discovered that during the construction of the building in the early 1930s, there had been numerous accidents and even deaths. But one story stood out. Thomas Grady was a construction worker who had died in a freak accident. According to the records, a large steel beam had fallen from a great height, decapitating him instantly. His body was never properly buried and his head was never found. Rumor had it that his spirit had been haunting the building ever since, searching for his missing head. Armed with this information, I decided to try and help Thomas's spirit find peace. I contacted Claire, a local medium, and asked her to come to the building and conduct a seance. She agreed, and we planned to meet the following night. Claire arrived just after midnight, carrying a bag filled with candles, incense, and a Ouija board. We set up in the stairwell where I had seen Thomas's ghost, the flickering candlelight casting eerie shadows on the walls. Claire began the seance, calling out to Thomas's spirit. "Thomas Grady, we are here to help you find peace. Please show us where your head is." The air grew cold and the candles flickered. The planchette on the Ouija board began to move, spelling out a single word. Basement. We made our way down to the basement, the darkness seeming to close in around us. Claire lit more candles and we began to search. In a far corner, behind some old crates, we found a small wooden box. It was covered in dust and the wood was brittle with age. I pried it open and inside was a human skull. As soon as we uncovered the skull, a chill ran through the room. Thomas's spirit appeared before us, headless no longer. His face was worn and weary, but there was a look of profound gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. "I can finally rest." With that, Thomas's spirit faded away, the oppressive cold lifting from the room. Claire and I left the basement feeling a sense of relief and accomplishment. The haunting was over. In the days that followed, the Empire State Building seemed different. The air was lighter, and the sense of foreboding that had hung over the night shifts was gone. I continued my job as a security guard, but now I felt a connection to the building, a sense of history and purpose. I often think about Thomas Grady and the night I helped him find peace. It was an experience that changed me, showing me that even in death there are stories that need to be told, and spirits that need to be helped. The Empire State Building may no longer be haunted, but its history is forever etched in my mind.